Dal, congratulations. Just your take on that game performance first.
Well, it was a really important game for us to get back on track, and I thought we started with great intent. I spoke to the boys afterwards and said I just thought our attitude was like night and day from last week, so that was really pleasing. Thought there were some really good periods where we looked like a really high functioning team, both with and without the ball. The period just before half time and just after was a little bit of a disappointment. We spoke about half time, about going on with the game and starting. I think it was Jerry who said first 5 sets till we give a penalty away, then a 6 again, and then we dropped the ball on play 3, I think it was, and then conceded a try. So it's probably not the best start you're ever going to see. But after that, I thought we grabbed hold of the game pretty quickly, and a couple of different combinations out there with what's happening to us from an injury perspective. And yeah, it's a big win for us. That obviously. Featherstone local derby, it's big for the fans, so that's important, and yeah, it gets us straight back on track, which I was really pleased about.
Speaking to Thomas Doyle about last week, was it a bit of a wake-up call that over in France?
Well, looking back on it, sometimes the team's just ready to get beat, isn't it? For whatever reason. I just thought our attitude wasn't quite where it needed to be, and their attitude was at their best level. So, there's only really one outcome once we got into the game. I just thought straight away we weren't quite where we needed to be, and you just can't grab those things back in those conditions. It was 35-ish degrees. It was baking hot. So yeah, I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call. I think you saw with our defensive intent today that I'd gone back to our sort of standard, and I think we've conceded a few too many points. Definitely there a couple of tries that we would want to be better at. So I'll have a bit of a look at our edge defence, I think in particular, and look to tidy a few things up. But ultimately, we've won a game that we needed to win to get back on track. So I'm pleased about that.
You had that sort of makeshift spine again, and made a couple of switches with Lachlan at full back and Max into halves. How did you think they all went?
Well, I thought they all played well. I thought Lachlan carried the ball really well out of backfield, and I think he's improved that part of his game massively since he came. He really puts his foot down into contact now, and it's not all about speed. He's combative as well, which we've asked him to do a fair bit more of, and he's grown that, whether he's on the wing or at full back. I felt like we needed to just change our halves a little bit. That's awkward, that when you're changing halves, and I think Mason and Gailey have played together maybe 5 times this year, so we haven't been able to build real synergy around that. And then obviously Liam Kay's been playing at half, and he's not a natural half, and I felt like we just needed to even our edges up a little bit, and I think Max did that pretty well at right side half, and Gailey does what he does pretty well. We're still working on fine-tuning what that looks like if we don't have Mason, and there's some positive signs today.
I want to ask you about Josh Bowden as well. I think it's the first time in his career where he scored 2 tries in one game, which I guess is a bit of a reward for someone who does a lot of the work sometimes that goes a bit unnoticed. Yeah,
it's quite funny, isn't it, really? But he's just as a bloke, I just really like him. I think just what he's like around the place, and he was really physical at the start, and he set us off in a great way. He forced an error really on defensively, and then for him to get a couple, he wasn't happy with me when I brought him off. He wanted to get the hat-trick, but I was trying to look after him really. There's no gratitude sometimes from players, is there?
Thomas Doyle's 100th career game as well. Again, an important part of your side.
Yeah, I just think he's an outstanding player. I didn't know him when he first came in, and I got his name wrong in the presser as well, which he can't let me forget that. So I won't do that again. But he came on because I was going to put him on just before half time, and then we got Caleb Welly gets an injury, so I sort of tweaked that a little bit and left him till after half time. But when he came on as not as a 9 initially. He came on as just a running middle forward, and he was so combative and strong and fast. that he fitted into that role really well. And we were pretty small in the middle, but we had plenty of energy, and he's great at that. Doyley, I just the way he goes around about his game, I think he's outstanding, and he's fitted in as a really key part of the team.
You mentioned Caleb's injury. What's that sort of looking like?
Yeah, so it's a knee ligament injury, which he'll certainly be missing. For how long, I don't know. It's not a bad one. It's an MCL, so it depends on the grade, and he'll get a scan, and we'll see on that. But I reckon it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. Conservative estimate, I would have thought.
You've not had much luck in terms of injuries, have you, especially to forwards recently? Is anyone close to coming back? Or?
Yeah, I think Ranulph and Kai for the Sheffield game. I don't think we'll have anybody coming back this week. So yeah, we're getting a little bit smaller in the pack, but there's some pretty tough boys in there. So they're handling things really well. What I'd like to say, I think Isaiah is probably about 5 weeks away. So obviously, what we want to do is piece our team together, and towards the back end when we really need everybody flying. Hopefully, that can happen. But look, it's rugby league. You never know. It's a tough physical sport, and we've lost another player today, and that's tough. It's tough when a lot of them are in the middle unit.
Just finally from me on the similar sort of point, will you be tempted at all to try and bring anyone in with just a week left until the deadline? Or?
Yeah, I think we'll be all right. I've sort of obviously we had the Wigan deal earlier in the year, which we never used, and I didn't, I'd wanted to trust the players that we had, and I think I've been pretty much proved right with that. I don't think we've needed any. Isaac Shaw's had a couple of games, and it's those sort of things that I'd prefer to do. We've got Harvey Smith, who I thought our reserves were class against Wigan actually. So there's some players in there that are playing well and pushing. So I'd rather keep it in house. We got offered Harvey Making a couple of weeks back, and I just think I'd rather see Isaac Shaw play, if I'm honest. So I don't think so. There's a long-winded answer to your question.
Cheers, Dan.
You mentioned Lachlan Walmsley. Is he a player you could see replicating those kinds of performances at the top level?
Yeah, I think so. I think initially I spoke to him about his physicality really, because he's played a lot at this level, and he's been good. He's a pretty accomplished try scorer, but wingers' jobs nowadays are a little bit different, aren't they? If you look at what Jerry and Darrell do, and I think particularly Jerry today just looked unstoppable at times, then you have to be able to do that as well as score your tries, and he's taken that on board, and I think he's been living and spending a lot of time around Kai Rodwell, who's a phenomenal professional, and I think a lot of that rubbing off on him, and so yeah, the answer to that question is I think he will be able to. There'll be challenges because it's a step up, and defence is going to whack you. But I think he's finding different ways and tempo of ball carry to get him outcomes when he carries the ball, and he's doing pretty well with that. And now and again you get belted, that's the game, isn't it? But I think he's very prepared to get belted now, a lot more than he was early on. So. It's good to see him doing that.
It's a bit of a marathon this season, isn't it?
Oh wow! Like you won't believe.
How will you go about managing your squad in these last 9 games with the playoffs in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'd call it the Sunday marathon because we play every Sunday, don't we? It's like blokes just getting some time that they can spend with their families, and weekends quite hard. But we've got we play Sheffield on Friday in a couple of weeks' time, and boys have got a 4-day break after that, which it'd be like manna from heaven for them. So we've told them that a fair while back. So there's that, and then obviously in terms of managing players, if we had everybody fit, then you could roll people around, but that's quite hard at the moment. So I'm hoping for a bit of luck at some point that gives us a chance to look after a few players. And then we've got a plan in place, but that's going to rely on people being healthy, and that's not always the easiest thing to predict. So we have got a plan. How that pans out, I'm hoping it's a little bit better than it has been the last 5-6 weeks.
You've obviously got a lot of injuries in house, and Tom Johnson, he's suffered an injury, and if Catalan. Have you been in touch with him to see how he is, and with Catalan as well to see how the extent of the
Yeah, medical team have. So yeah, I mean it's down the track that, isn't it? I think you don't want to see people injured. Mike McMeekan's missed a huge part of the season. In some ways, benefit to be honest. Especially for someone like Mike who's played I don't know how many games. Then it means he'd be pretty fresh, and he's a great professional anyway. But I just wish those boys all the best. I haven't personally spoken to him, but I know Matty's been inquiring to see exactly what is the extent of that injury.
Are these kind of impact injuries not as concerning for you, like break over?
Yeah, no, the breaks they're not too bad generally, unless you have complications like Paul McShane did with a pin, something like that. Generally, you're not too bad with breaks. It's more the ACLs are obviously a terrible injury, and the ruptures to the ligaments are the worst ones. Really, they tend to take longer than breaks.